Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got a unique and unexpected build for you because, well, it's a commander that is beloved by the Magic community and many see it as being built in, well, I'm not going to say one direction. It can be built in a lot of directions, but one particular way players typically build it. And this is definitely not that. This is off the wall and unexpected and out of nowhere. Let's talk about the commander first. And that would be everyone's favorite and fierce little kobold, Rograkh, son of Roga, or I like to call him Rog, a 0/1 kobold warrior for 0 mana. That's right, this is a very unique commander. The first time I saw this, I was like, wait, they did what? They made a 0 mana commander? What? Crazy. First strike, menace, and trample, and of course, partner. And that is actually key with this deck because if we just had a mono red deck, we couldn't do what we want to do with this one, unfortunately. That being said, we do need 2 other colors for this combination that we really want. And we actually want a teamer deck, so we have 2 options. One's Thrasios, and I don't like Thrasios that much because that leans more into, well, not that I don't like Thrasios, but it has an expectation behind it. This commander actually works really well with what we're going to be doing with this one, and that is Kydele, Chosen of Krufix, the other Simic commander that I really haven't seen actually played except for Alex Cycling deck, which is amazing. Make sure you check that out. That being said, a 2/3 human wizard for 4 mana in Simic. Tap, add colorless for each mana, or for each mana pool for each card you draw on this turn. There we go. We got there. Basically, draw a lot of cards, tap for a lot of mana, which does work with our commander. I mean, not with Rog in what it does. Again, Rog just says first strike, menace, and trample, not exactly doing anything with card draw, but it will when things make sense with this deck, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking advantage of the fact that Rog, again, is unique. Unlike any other commander out there, Rog costs 0. Rog costs 0, I will say that again, meaning that Rog is free. Initially on that first time, obviously. But then after we cast it again the second time, oh, you got commander tax, you got to pay that, right? Or do we? Because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be eliminating that little commander tax problem, taking advantage of that and taking advantage of the fact that Rog costs 0. And then, obviously, with our other commander, tapping for a lot of mana, too, and doing some crazy things. So on this episode, let's talk about some tactics. Let's talk about some ways that we can take advantage of this. Let's talk about some ways we can do some crazy things with the 0 mana commander. If you are interested in this unexpected and unique deck, make sure you check out that Decklist link in the description below. According to Moxfield, the price is $33.11. Keep in mind that does include shipping or the cost of basics, but yeah, I was pretty happy to actually get it within that price after adding in an expensive card in there. We'll talk about that here right now. So let's start things off with the golden pig of this deck, the number 1 card out of 99, and that is Myth Unbound, an enchantment for 3 mana in green. Your commander costs 1 less to cast for each time it's been cast for the command zone this game. Whenever your commander is put in the command zone from anywhere, draw a card. So this actually kind of negates some of the commander tax, right? Again, commander tax is every single time you cast your commander, add 2 to the next time that you're casting it, essentially. I mean, in a simplified way. So, if we cast our commander, it's going to cost 1 less than that. So, it's basically just like add 1 every single time instead of 2. Now, this does make our commander still more expensive. I mean, we do have a commander that does cost 0. So, like, with this in play plus our commander, it's like, okay, next time it just costs 1. The next time it costs 2. The next time it costs 3. It's still very cheap. And every single time our commander is put in the command zone from anywhere, again, we draw a card. That's nice, but not quite exactly what we're going for because, yeah, this is a very unique effect, and it's the only effect, actually, I believe, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that really does this. $7.84 worth of uniqueness. Yeah, I had to kind of squeeze that into budget there, obviously. I mean, if you take that out, I mean, it's like $25 for the rest of the deck. That being said, well worth it because, again, it's the only thing that does this. It is the golden pig because this is the engine that we need. It's just that we kind of need more than one of it. So how do we do that? And that, of course, brings us to tactic number 2. Copy it because we need more than one Myth Unrealized, but we're in Commander, so it's a singleton format, so we need to copy the Myth Unrealized. And one way to do that is with Copy Enchantment, which copies enchantments. No, really. An enchantment for 3 mana in blue. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any enchantment on the battlefield. Which, of course, if we get Myth Realized, I should say, Myth Unbound, if I could say the name of the card, we are going to get copy enchantment to become a copy of that. So essentially we say, you know what? We got 1 in play. What's better than that? 2. With 2 in play again, all of a sudden, our commander costs 1 less for each one of these enchantments in play, which is going to be 2 of them for each time we've cast it. So Rograkh, again, if we cast it, costs 2 less the next time, then 4 less. And that negates the commander tax completely. So every single time we cast Rog, it is going to be for that 0 again, again, again. And every single time Rog dies, we draw a card. I mean, dies and goes to the command zone, which is what we're going to be doing. We draw a card every single time. So again, the goal of this deck is get Myth Unbound out. If I could say that name, why is that one just escaping me? It's like Myth Realized. Is Myth Realized another card? Myth Unbound out, get a copy of it out, and all of a sudden have 2 of those in play, reduce the cost down to nothing, so we can freely play Rog whenever we want. Estrid's Invocation, I cannot believe this is budget-friendly enough. That reprint, enchantment for 3 mana in blue, enter the battlefield as a copy of an enchantment you control, except it has at the beginning of your upkeep. You may exile this enchantment if you do return the battlefield under its control, so we can, like, blink and change this one if we need to, but more than likely, we're going to wait for Myth Unbound to come in play. But yeah, we are going to actually, get this in play at some point. Mirage Mirror. We have an artifact that can help us out too. Artifact for 3, pay 2. Comes a copy target artifact, creature, enchantment, or land until end of turn. This is until end of turn, but that's all we're going to need, essentially, when it comes to our crazy combination of cards that we're going to be utilizing to cast Rog. Not an infinite amount of times, but as many as we want, essentially. Next up, we've got Mythos of Iluna. A sorcerer that can help us. Create a token's copy target permanent. Yeah, you can add Gruul into it if you want. If it's a creature, it fights, whatever. We're not going to care about that really again, because what we want to do with this again is 4 mana, copy our enchantment, and reduce that cost. Next up, Moray the Frost, a creature that can help us out, actually. A 0/0 shapeshifter changeling for 5 mana, and a battle is a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow to other types. If it's a creature, enters with 2 additional counters. Doesn't care about that. Again, any permanent we control, we just have a snow copy of our enchantment. Great. Good for us. It doesn't matter. It does the job. Again, all we care about is getting extra copy. We can actually get 2 extra copies too if we really want to, but we probably don't want to do that. Replication technique. We can demonstrate it. Again, we probably don't want to, but yeah, create token copy permanent you control. So yes, being able to copy one of our permanents, that's all we care about. Getting Myth Unbound out, getting a second one out as well. That's all we want to do. But how do we actually get this to come to fruition? Let's move on to tactic number 3, because we actually need another piece to actually make this work, and that is a free sacrifice outlet. Goblin Bombardment, enchantment for 2 mana in total in red. Sacrifice a creature, 1 amateur creature or player. So this is actually a win condition for us potentially, because, well, again, we play Rog, we sacrifice Rog. We play Rog again for free. We sacrifice Rog again for free. We do it again and again and again and again and again and again. And our enchantment helps us utilize that. Helps us ping down players, ping down creatures. The only limitation is our library size because, again, we have to draw. It's not a may. We have to draw. There is a way around this, though. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but we have to draw without another piece. So we could just deck ourselves and lose, but let's not do that. That being said, there is a way to infinitely take players out with this. Next up, Bogardan Dragonheart. Sacrifice another creature until end of turn. It becomes a dragon with base power. It does 4/4 flying and haste. It doesn't matter that, we don't have that. So we just sacrifice Rog again and again and again. Cool. So yeah, we can just do that again and again and again, and all of a sudden, Rog. It doesn't matter that we just don't get really any value out of that. Again, Goblin Bombardment gives us a victory if we have the right cards in play. It doesn't matter that we're winning or losing with that because we've got other ways to win when we draw our entire library. Next up, Aether Flash. This is actually kind of a very funny one. Whenever a creature comes into play, it deals 2 damage to it. So Rog, again, when played, would just be like, okay, I'm in play. Oh no, I'm gone. Because Rog only has 1 toughness. And that is kind of funny that we can just keep taking our own commander out again and again and again. Not too many decks would actually want to do that, but we do because we just want to be able to make sure that we can get Rog away again, again, and again to recast it as many times as we can. Thermopod actually gives us a ton of value. Not because it can get haste until end of turn by giving it a snow mana for some reason, but we can sacrifice a creature to add red to our mana pool. So by doing that again, we've got, again, not infinite red mana. We're limited based off of library size, etc. somewhat, but actually not at a certain point. And also, you can't go infinite technically, but trillion mana, whatever it's going to be. A lot of mana can be had by sacrificing Rog again, again, again. We're actually mana positive by casting our commander from the command zone throughout the game, which is crazy. Gruul Rage Beast, yet another way to do this. It does require the help of an opponent, but most likely this will work out. 6/6 Beast for 7 mana and Gruul. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature fights our creature opponent controls. So our poor little 0/1 Kobold, which many players out there make into like a destructive force, again, like super huge, like Voltron-y, we're like, no, we like it being a 0/1. Okay, go ahead, Rog, get in there. All right, go fight that creature. It's like, but I just lost last time against it. And you're like, go fight that. All right. Oh, no, you lost. Okay, I'll recast you again for free. Do it again. No! So yes, again, it has to be fighting creatures opponent controls. It's not dealing any damage to them, so like you're not going to be taking those creatures out, which is actually a good thing because you want those creatures to stay in play. That being said, you do actually have to have an opponent that has a creature in play, but chances are very likely that you have at least one opponent that has a creature in play that has 1 power, okay? Next up, tactic number 4, Tutor Time. How do we put all this together? Well, one way is with tutors. Tutors can really help us out. Analyze the pollen. What is in this pollen? Gross. Sorcery for a single green mana. This will cost to cast this spell. You can collect evidence. 8. Search life for a basic land card of evidence. Collect instead search life for a creature or land card. Reveal that card, put in your hand, then shuffle. Obviously, getting a land does not help us out with this combination. Getting a creature will, though. And we'll talk about a specific creature here in a little bit that can really help us out. Instrument of the Bards, a ledger artifact for a single green mana. Give her upkeep, you can get a Harmony counter on it. By paying 4 mana in total, we can tap and search life for a creature card. Mana value, you can number of Harmony counters on it. If it's legendary, we get a treasure. We don't really care about that. But again, this can be another way to, over time, tutor for certain creatures. Neoform. This cost cast spell, sacrifice a creature. Subscribe for a creature card with converted mana cost equal to 1+ the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost. Put that card on the battlefield, additional counter on it, then shuffle your library. With this, we can actually utilize one of our commanders, Kydele, to sacrifice that to go get something like, say, Thermopod if we need that half of the combination. So do keep that in mind. Or actually, our Changeling legendary creature, More Out of the Frost, can actually be another card that we could tutor out this with Kydele. So keep that in mind too if we need that other half of Myth Unbound. Next up, Reckless Handling can be a bit risky, but pretty sweet. Search life for an artifact card, reveal up in your hand, then shuffle. Then discard a card at random. If an artifact card is discarded this way, it deals 2 into each opponent. So hopefully this can actually get us Mirage Mirror and keep it in the hand. And if not, 2 damage. Okay. Next up, Uncage the Menagerie. Search life for X creature cards with different names that each have converted mana cost X. Reveal up in your hand, then shuffle. So again, at say X equals 5, you can go get Mariah the Frost if you need it, Thermopod if you need it, or the next card that we're going to be talking about at 3 mana, which can be absolutely fantastic because this one, Drift of Phantasms, can tutor out either of our things that we really need. Again, Myth Unbound, or also any of those other cards. Transmute for 1 blue, meaning discard this, go get Myth Unbound. So yeah, any of these like creature tutors that we have can actually tutor for a tutor for us. This is a great card because, well, transmuting really can't be, I mean, it can be countered like counter an ability, but it can't be countered like a normal counter spell. So keep that in mind. That being said, yeah, 3 mana and go get either of our pieces that we really need. Again, either Myth Unbound, the original piece, or a piece that can copy of it. This can be of huge use to us, or actually a sacrifice outlet as well. It could get too. Trophy Mage. This one is in here for, well, the mirror. Enters battlefield, search life for an artifact card with converted mana cost 3. Reveal up in your hand, then shuffle your library. Yeah, go get that Mirage Mirror and help yourself out. Bring to Light. Search life for a creature instant sorcery card with mana value less than equal to the number of colors mana spent to cast a spell. Exile a card, then shuffle. You may cast a card with paying its mana cost. Yeah, this can go get us a lot of different things that could help us out. Hoarding Dragon. ETB. Search life for an artifact card. Exile, then shuffle. When it dies, you may put the exile card in its owner's hand. So again, this can go get us Mirage Mirror when it is taken out. So keep that in mind. Primal Command. Choose 2. Target player gains 7 life. Good for you. Yay. Put target non-creature permanent on top of its owner's library. Temporary removal for something that's nice. Target player shuffles a graveyard in the library. This can actually really help us out in not milling ourselves, so keep that in mind. On top of that, though, search life for a creature card, reveal up in your hand, then shuffle. So yeah, this is the part that really matters, being able to tutor something into our hand. Might be Brutalizer Exarch. Enters the battlefield, choose 1, search life for a creature card, reveal it, then shuffle your library, put the card on top of it, put target non-creature permanent on the bottom of its owner's library. Most likely you're not going to tutor for this tutor, but who knows? You might. Anyways, good removal, or again, good tutoring for us as well. Next up, let's go to attack number 5, dig down. Yeah, we've got some ways to actually dig down into our deck to get us to the things that we need to win, and also some cards that can really help us out once we are going crazy with our commander, because Again, keep in mind, we've got 2 commanders. I mean, I mostly talk about Rog, but Kydele is out there too. And while we are doing this, Myth Unbound, you know, cast Rog again, cast Rog again, cast Rog again. Every single time we do that, again, every single time Rog goes back to the command zone, we draw 2 cards because we've got the Myth Unbound and the copy. So we're drawing those cards. We can then tap Kydele for an absurd amount of mana and dump that into X spells, which we have a lot of them. Finale of Revelation is a great one. Draw X cards of X is 10 or more. Instead, shuffle your graveyard in your library. Draw X cards, untap to 5 lands. You have no max hand size for the rest of the game. Exile this. This can really help us out in a lot of different ways, of course. Next up, Mindspring. I mean, it does part of that, but yeah, that's about it. This is, again, how, like, much Magic has evolved over the years, that this was, like, still really, really good back then. It's not bad now, but Finale of Revelation does this and then some. Draw X cards. Bolt for tomorrow, instant speed, draw X cards and discard a single card. Again, this can be very good at instant speed. And then we got Silver Scrutiny. Also can be instant speed. Cast the Zodiac Flash if X is 3 or less. Draw X cards. Or can just be a, well, yeah, Mindspring, which is completely fine too. Commander's Insight. Now, this is where we get into cards that can actually do some weird things and actually win us the game. Target player draws X cards plus social card for each time you've cast your commander for the command zone this game. A commander, I should say. Yeah, this is what all this deck does, is just cast his commander again and again and again and again and again. Also, we can put a ton of mana into this if we really want to. So essentially, we can say, you over there. Me? Yes, you. Would you like to draw 100 cards? No, I only have 80 in my deck. Okay, you're drawing 100 cards. Again, because it says target player, this can be a win condition for us. Yeah, this deck, outside of doing something really weird, can actually win the game. Who knew? Moving on. Diviner's Portent, instant for X blue blue blue. Roll a d20 and the number of cards in your hand, again, which can be very substantial, so do keep that in mind while you are doing this. 1 through 14 is draw X cards, 15 plus is scry X, then draw X. So yeah, be careful when you're actually casting this one, because you could just mill yourself out if you don't keep that in mind. Next up, Drown in Dreams. Instant for X2 and a blue. Choose one if you control a commander as you cast this spell. Choose both instead. Target player draws X cards. Target player mills twice X cards. This can be take 2 players out with 1 spell, essentially. Once you're at the correct point of the game where you are doing all these crazy things, you're drawing all these crazy cards, you're tapping Kydele for an absurd amount of mana. It may be untapping. We'll talk about that here in a bit. You'll have enough mana potentially to take out multiple players again by making one player draw their deck, and the other player lose their entire deck, and then when they draw their next card, they lose as well. Ingenious Mastery. You can pay just 3 mana instead of paying its mana cost. If the 3 mana is paid, draw 3 cards. Opponent creates 2 treasure tokens, scry 2. If the cost wasn't paid, you draw X cards. So again, basically like a sorcery speed stroke of genius, which we'll talk about next. Stroke of genius. Instant speed, target player draws X cards. Again, a way to actually mill someone up potentially. Invoke the Fire Mind won't mill someone out because it says choose one, draw X cards, just us, oh darn. But it does have a way to take out a player because it can deal X damage to our creature or player instead, so it can be a win condition for us too. We have a lot of those. Universal Surveillance, improvise, draw X cards, so again, yet another way to draw a ton of cards. And then finally, Expansion Explosion. Actually copy and sorcery spells with this that are small, which is fine. Or Explosion again, deal X damage to any target, and target player draws X cards. So yeah, can be another way to take out 2 players at the exact same time if needed. Next up, though, let's talk about tactic number 6, Commander Cast Advantage, because yeah, we got some weird things that we can take advantage of by casting our commander, like Tangleroot. Tangleroot, yep, Tangleroot. Artifact 4/3. Whenever a player casts a creature spell, they add green to their mana pool. Yeah, doesn't see a lot of play because this benefits everyone, not just you. That being said, obviously, we're going to take the most value out of this because, hey, we're going to be casting our commander again and again and again and again for free. So many times your heads will spin, and then all of a sudden we are going to be getting a ton of mana from that, on top of all the mana we get from our other commander as well. Font of Magic. Who needs mana when you've got cost reduction? Enchantment for 3 and a blue. Instant source spells you cast cost 1 cast for each time you cast a commander for the command zone this game. When you see this in play, like typically it's like, oh my gosh, that player has instant sources cost 3 less. Oh my goodness. This is, hey, your instant source is going to cost like 40 or 50 less, maybe even more. Again, I said earlier that there is a way to ensure that you actually don't mill yourself out. So you can cast your commander 1 trillion times, let's say, and then your spells cost 1 trillion less. So you can do some weird things with this deck. Echo Storm is another really weird one. Sorcerer 5, mana and blue. When you cast a spell, copy it for each time you cast your commander for the command zone. This game, you choose targets to the copies. Create tokens, copy target artifact. This can actually be a win condition for you in a weird way where, again, like let's say an opponent has like an artifact that actually maybe deals damage, maybe mills, maybe just, is a creature, essentially. Cool. Or, also, like, our mana rocks would work, too, for you as well, just to get a lot of extra mana, too. But, yeah, basically, again, cast your commander however many times, play this, and then just copy this 40 times or so and get an absurd board state after doing some absurd things. This deck is just 100% absurd. Next up, let's move on to tactic number 7, Mana Madness, because like I mentioned earlier, well, we can actually untap Kydele to actually tap Kydele again. So again, when you like cast your commander however many times, you drew 80 cards or so in a turn, you tap Kydele for 80, you're like, oh, what's better than that? Untapping, tapping it again for another 80. Yay! Curious Follower. Tap to untap another target permanent. It can be ramp, or it can also be, again, untap your commander, which is also kind of ramp too, but keep in mind it can untap lands. Seeker of Skybreak cannot untap lands, but can untap creatures. Tap to untap target creature. Clever Conjurer. Tap, untap another target permanent not named Clever Conjurer, active on sorcery. So again, untap lands, untap creatures, whatever you need to do. Forensic Researcher, the exact same thing. Another target permanent, essentially. Tap, collect evidence 3. Tap target creature you don't control. If you really need to do that, do it. If you don't, don't. Mostly just for untapping. Iorth of the Healing House. I always mess that up. Tap, untap into target permanent, or tap, untap 2 other target legendary creatures. So yeah, most of the time just untapping a permanent. And we got Kelpie Guide. Untap into target permanent you control. Tap target permanent. Activate if you control 8 or more lands. Sure, but again, most of the time, untap your permanent. Vizier of Tumbling Sands does the exact same thing, or we can cycle it away to untap 1 target permanent. Gemstone Array is a very weird card, and I love it for this deck. Artifact for 4, pay 2, put a charge counter on it, move a charge counter from it, add 1 mana of any color to mana pool. This essentially like 2 colorless equals 1 of anything. Essentially when it comes to Kydele, we can transfer all of our colorless mana that Kydele is going to be giving us into mana of whatever colors we need. So again, when we are drawing our entire library essentially, and we're tapping Kydele a ton, we can then say, oh, okay, it's this color, okay, it's this color, and cast all the spells that we need essentially, which can be quite a bit when we talk about our next tactic. Because next up, we've got tactic number 8, Lossless, and yeah, this does make things a bit more efficient and a bit quicker, because Rising of the Day is a great card. Enchantment for 3 mana in red, creature control of haste, legendary creatures you control get +1/+0. Keep in mind with that, there is a slight issue with Gruul Rage Beast, in that then your Rog becomes kind of like a mini board wipe in a way, because it's going to be dealing 1 damage each time it fights. Do keep that in mind. That being said, without that very specific scenario of when you're trying to go infinite and you can't because of that, because you take out all your opponent's creatures, you're fine for the most part, okay? The haste is what matters with this, though, okay? Being able to give creatures haste is huge because, well, Kydele can actually just tap the turn it comes down, which is lovely, but also those creatures that can untap Kydele can tap as well on the turn that they come down, so you can generate even more crazy mana. So if you have, like, Gemstone Array plus those creatures plus drawing your library equals untap Kydele a lot of times. That being said, we can just go infinite as well with, well, things like abundance. Yeah, it's really weird to think that this can actually help us go infinite. Again, not infinite rules letters out there, a trillion, whatever. Enchantment for 4 mana in green. If you would draw a card, you may instead choose land or non-land, or reveal cards to the top of your library to reveal a card of the chosen kind. Put that card in your hand and put all other cards revealed this way in the bottom of your library in any order. Now, there's also like Obstinate Familiar, whatever they like. There's like a lizard dude that does this as well, but basically like this makes it so that you don't draw. So again, because if you would draw, you can choose not to. You're instead choosing land or non-land, and it doesn't specify that you need a library to do that. So again, once you get down to no cards in your library, you could essentially be like, oh, okay, I choose land. Oh no, I didn't hit a land. Oh, I choose non-land. Didn't hit non-land. Doesn't matter. That way, again, the downside but upside to Myth Unbound, and that you are drawing a card, or again, to the copy, every single time your commander goes away, is negated. You can just keep casting your commander again and again and again and again and again, just to basically like build up storm count, essentially, or, you know, all these other things. Yeah, generate mana with like Tangle Root. You can do crazy things with this deck, and Abundance lets it go even crazier again, because you're not limited to milling yourself and losing by not having a library. So yeah, Abundance might not seem like a lot. Early on, it can really help you, okay, dig down into your deck. Okay, I'm drawing cards. I really don't want lands right now. I want to dig down and just get non-lands. It can help you get to the key pieces that you need to actually get things set up, but also it helps you not lose the game. So yeah, Abundance is a crazy good card. Next up, let's move on to tactic number 9, though. Outside of our, you know, tap, untap creature kind of things, essentially, Of course, we have some ramp parts in tactic number 9. Ramp parts like Wayfarer's Bauble. First up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. Pay 2 taps, sacrifice, get a base land and play tapped. Next up, we've got Rampant Growth, the OG ramp. 2 mana to get a base and play untapped. Tapped, actually. Edge of Omni is the exact same thing, but if you got 4 or fewer lands, you can cycle away by sacrificing land if you need to. Farseed can get 2 of our lands as well. Just not a forest, and that's okay. Secure Tribelt are basically Rampant Growth on a body. Cultivate gets 2 basics. 1 goes into play tapped, 1 goes into our hand. Hero, we can sacrifice 1 land to get 2 basics into play untapped. Utilize that mana right away. Speaking of which, search for tomorrow. Great turn 1 play. Spend 2 for a single green mana. Get a basic into play untapped. But now to into our final tactic number 10, wrenches, because yeah, we've got plenty of wrenches to throw under opponents' plans. We already talked about some ways to actually finish them off just by making them like draw their library or mill themselves or other weird ways that we've talked about too. But oh yeah, Goblin Bombard works too as well. Anyways, Grape Shot, yet another funny way to take out all of your opponents with this weird deck. It deals 1 damage to any target and storm. Again, like I mentioned, with like our Abundance, Rograkh, Infinite Storm Count, not Infinite Rules Lawyers, a trillion, whatever it is, you can take everything out. Also, even when you're not doing that, you can do some crazy things just to take out things that you need to take out earlier on. Jai's Limiting Inferno. Yeah, Legendary Sorcery. If we've got either of our legendary creatures in play, great. If not, oh no, don't cast it, but we're going to. Deals X damage up to each with 3 targets. That can just be our opponent's faces if we really need to. Earlier on the game, though, can just be a good removal. Amphibian Downpour, this one's just quite funny. Flash Storm, enchant creature. Enchant creature loses all abilities as a blue frog with base power toughness 1/1. Basically, turn all your opponent's things into frogs. So, have fun with that. Next up, one of my favorite cards of all time, Temporal Fissure. My Jory deck loves this one. Return target permanent to Azor's hand and Storm. Keep in mind, it does not say non-land. It does not say non-land, which means that you can bounce lands. Yes, is that unfriendly? But yes. Yes, in Casual Commander it is, but hey, the game's got to end at some point, and I just cast my commander a trillion times. You lose, okay? You lose. I'm going to bounce all your lands. You lose. I mean, I've got other ways to finish you off too, but you lose, okay? I bounce all your lands. It's done. It's done. Just quit. Just quit. You're not going to quit? Okay, then I'll take you out with my damage spell. Anyways, Tidespout Tyrant, again, somewhat similar. 5/5 Djinn with flying that costs 8 mana. When you cast a spell, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Probably can go infinite in some other, like, weird ways with our Rog as well. In fact, it definitely can, because, like, we've got, like, untap effects, bounce effects as well. Haste effect as well. It can definitely do other infinite things, but it's not exactly in there for that. What we could just do with Rog, essentially, is, again, hey, okay, I cast Rog. And again, and again, and again, I bounce all your things against like another Temporal Fissure. So yeah, this is a good earlier on removal. And then once we're set up properly, remove absolutely everything from the game. Commit a good kind of like break glass card. Put target spell or non-land permanent in Source Library second from the top, so that's quite nice. So actually, if someone's trying to like exile, say, our Myth Unbound, we can actually just temporarily get rid of it to get it back later. And then also, if someone's trying to do something, we can kind of like temporarily counter something as well. Or hey, on the other side, we've got Memory in the graveyard. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into the library, then draws 7 cards. Another way not to mill ourselves. Again, we've got like Abundance. It's another way to get things back, though, in case things get dealt with, so do keep that in mind. But now this episode is coming to a close. I'd love to hear from you on your thoughts on this weird off-the-wall deck that no one's going to be expecting when they're like, oh, Rograkh deck. That's interesting. I've never seen one with Kydele. That's very interesting. You just must like Simic. Cool. Okay, cool. Let's play against it. I'm expecting Rog to get suited up and to hit me really hard. Okay, I'm ready for that. What is this? Wait, what's that? What's the... Oh, no! Yeah, let me know your thoughts are on this in the comments below. If you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.